Hello and welcome to another Untitled tutorial. This video we're going to look at a way of making your bass lines a little bit more punchy, especially if you're just going to use just this sort of pattern here. So this is just an offbeat double hit, so instead of just one. Okay, there's a number of ways that we can approach it. So I'm just going to do a little bit of shaping just to get this sounding a little bit nicer whilst I'm talking about it. So what I'm going to do is boost the kick drum. Just going to get rid of some of that low end. Okay, so I'm going to hit that. Get rid of some of that boxiness. Alright, so I've boosted the clickiness and made it a little bit warmer. So where I've boosted it here, this is a quick edit, so I'm just applying the principles, but it's not exactly spot on to where the kick is programmed. So it's at 68 Hertz. So on here we want to be at 68, and we just want to make a little cutout for the kick to breathe. Okay, so if we listen to that without the Pro Q on, and then with, it seems to lose a little bit of power, but it's letting that kick breathe in there. It's not the best kick in the world for the demonstration, but just for the purpose, it's okay. Alright, so how are we going to make this a little bit more stabby? Just one more thing that I forgot to do here. I just want to get rid of some of that low mid. Alright, just to make it sound a little bit warmer than what it actually is. Right, so there is some ways we can do this. So first of all, we can turn off quantization. Don't forget, hit J on the keyboard for Mac users. And we can shorten it down, so we get a bit more attack. Now that's a simple way of approaching it, but you're not actually changing the sound. So let's have a mess around with a preset kick, which is this bass pluck support out of the, let me have a look for you. This is out of the CNTRL State of Modern Trance presets, and it's that pluck support there. So that's loaded in. This is how it comes. I've just turned the volume down. Right, so the sound's okay as it is, but I want to make it click a little bit more. So I've already shaped envelope 2 here, which isn't being used anywhere else on here. Let's just double check in the delay and the EQ. See, there's nothing there. We've got nothing down here, and in some of the sub-menus we haven't got envelope 2 attached to anything. Right, so envelope 2 I'm going to take to here. And I'm just going to transpose it up to 64. So it's transposed it 4 times. So have a look at this. Okay, so it's creating a pitch shift. Now we want that to be a lot quicker. So we'll just reduce the decay. So you can hear it's a lot clickier already. So as you can see, just bring it down to such a fast attack and decay, it's become clickier rather than changing the sound. So if we listen to that without this on, if we just reset that to 0 and then put it back up, it's adding that percussive element into the bass. So let's listen to that again. So without, listen to the very start, and with. So it's like almost you've added another sound, but all you're doing is just shifting the pitch so fast with the envelope, it's creating it like a percussive sound. So that gets the pace going a little bit better, coupled with the shorter notes here. So let's just try a different rhythm here. This will work for this one as well. Okay, so I'm just going to shorten the velocities. So you can hear it works a lot better there in terms of how it sounds percussively, but that's not what we're trying to create, so that sounds quite nice. Also, what you can do here, I don't know why I'm creating a new instrument, cancel that, is we can start adding some compression, just mess around with it a little bit. So I'm just going to use the good old Pro C2, go down to this sidechain mode here, and we have a bit of an EQ. So let's just punch in some settings, let's listen to it. We'll have a nice fast punchy attack, a fairly speedy release, and we'll put a 2-to-1 on here. So let's just get it down to 2-to-1 exactly. And so you can hear there's an element of adding a little bit more percussive element to it if you just crank it up a bit. Alright, so we've added some more percussive into there, and what we can do is mess around with this. If you change this off to auto, you can actually increase or decrease the compression in that area, that frequency range. So you can see there's a lot of punch here. We could actually reduce the compression, or we could increase the compression just in that area whilst everything else stays the same. Obviously we can narrow that up and we can experiment. So we're losing the click there because we're applying so much compression, or we could let more dynamic through. So what we want to do is let more dynamic through. So it's sounding quite good there. So let's listen to that without. So even though we've added that percussive element into it using the pitch shifting, a bit of compression is controlling it, but at the same time we're adding some more dynamic in there. We're actually emphasising some of the parts, because if you remember, the threshold is squashing the ceiling down, so anything that goes above it is reduced by the ratio, but in turn everything that's a bit quieter is actually raised up, so you can hear more of the underlying stuff, especially when there's synths with delays and reverb. It enhances all that, so that's where it matters if you are putting reverb before or after compression. Depends how you want it to act on your sound. So that's a couple of ways where you can emphasize the click. We could apply some more EQ to emphasize the click. So here is where we kind of reduce the compression. We could increase the volume of those frequencies. And then that's obviously where you start to sonically change the sound. So let's just have a mess around. Let's just open this up. Okay, we're just going to reduce that 68 Hertz again, just ever so slightly, just to let that kick come through, because we've done a bit of processing. It might have boosted those areas a little bit more. So let's drop this back down to 6. We're doing a bit too steep of a cut there, because we've already done a cut. I only want to do about a -1. Okay, so that's adding some more. So if you listen to the original sound where we just shortened the note and we added the percussive element using the pitch shifting to now. Okay, so that helps create some drive for your track. What else you could do is maybe if we just bypass that for now, we could add on some distortion. Add a bit of weight in there. At the same time, add a little bit of top end in there. You can add a bit of a progression, which helps to put the bass into a new zone and make it sound a little bit more integrated into the track. So that's like kind of raw, and that's manipulating those lower frequencies, letting all the kind of softening the bass. There's all different ways to approach this. So it's letting the click come through, and the kind of the sub part is changed, but you can split this up, so you could have the clicky part in a mid bass and then have a low like sub bass and like a high bass. But I'm just going to work with the one sound and keep it very, very simple. Alright, so let's add in a synth just for good measure. Let's go back to massive. You know where I'm going with this. Back to massive. Sorry, just have to wait for my very, very slow hard drive to load. My presets. We're going to go down to Plugstars Heaven. Who would have guessed? I don't currently have a keyboard plugged in. This is the only problem when I'm recording videos, guys. Right, so I think we're on D. Are we? Or A? No, we're on D here, on there. So that's the root note of the track. Let's create some sort of little arpeggio, maybe. Let's have... I don't have a clue what I'm doing here. This is spontaneous. Okay, yeah, we could have that maybe. Just... Right, instead of creating an arpeggio, because I'm creating a melody from something that I'm not hearing at the moment, let's have a lovely split chord. So if we were going to have that D as a standard, let's have that transposed up. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll see some of these tips floating in and around on the Instagram, so link is down below to follow me there. That sounds quite nice. Let's just create something a little bit different. That sounds a bit different. Let's just try. Could have that there. Let's just have that there. That sounds a bit more rhythmic. Let's just put that back up there. And what we're going to do is just change this sonically, and then we'll leave it there because this is more about the bass. Okay. So you can see how it's working in relation to something there. Let's have a rolling bass in the bottom, because Plugstars is... The reason I use it is because it's so dynamically usable, so you can use right at the top end and you can use right at the low end, and I mean right at the low end. The PWM wave really kind of suits the whole range. So you got that low, but then you've got some weight here. So you can really get the track going without even adding any other elements in. So, see what I mean? Let's just make that fit, shall we? We'll put Kickstart on just to get some good stuff started. We'll put that, no, put that on. Okay, so we'll just have a bit of Nicky Romero on there, and we'll put the bass back in. That sounds quite nice, and then just put the kick in there. Now the problem with the synth, we're slowly drifting away off target here. Let's just turn that down. We'll start with a 2:1 ratio. I like to start there and then work my way up if it changes. We're going to have a reasonably fast attack, and kind of a medium release there. We'll go for a classic compression. We'll go for hard because it's very transient. Catch some of those peaks. So you can hear automatically it's actually raising the volume, but I'm not actually raising the volume. Let's just get rid of some of these frequencies out of here quickly. You get trained to these with your ears. I can hear this one. So you can really clean the sound up by doing this. It's some of the harmonics, I don't want to get rid of them, I just want to tame them. But you can still hear that one. That sounds okay. The same again, just because I'm not really processing this track very well. Just cut some of that bass out, roll the bottom off a little bit. So you can hear those resonant peaks here, which are the kind of the original harmonic progressing up in stages, creating the harmonics. So I've just tamed them, I haven't got rid of them, and this compressor is going to emphasize after. So if you have a listen to it here, it's bringing that low end in. That's a good way of showing it using the bass. Turn it off. So you're kind of bringing the volume out without actually sliding the slider up and making the track sound really loud and distorted, and then you're leading to a really bad mix. So let's have a listen. So it's sounding nice and clicky, and there's a nice little melody in there. It's going somewhere. So anyway, back to the bass. That is some good ways to do it. So we could use, like I said here, we can use some distortion, and we can use bands to distort it, or we can pick a certain frequency and distort it, and use anything. That's just using warm tape. We could use all that, power amps and crunchy amps. We could do all sorts. We could automate things. Also, just messing around with some of the EQs, if they come with that on the compressors, you can just use the standard controls to create them a little bit more clicky, thus creating a bit more percussive element of it. You can also just boost the frequencies in that range. That's shaping there, that one that we muted. You could just boost them. And also using stuff like pitch shifting. There are many other things, but there's some of the ways I use to get a good track started. So I hope you found this useful. If you did, give us a like and leave us a comment and let us know what you think. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.